Mabuhay, tennis family. Stop what you're doing right now. Seriously, pause everything, because what happened today in Madrid was not just a tennis match, and I refuse to let you scroll past this without understanding the full magnitude of what went down on that red clay. A young woman from the Philippines just walked into one of the most prestigious tennis venues in the world, stared down a Grand Slam finalist, and left her with absolutely no answers. None. And if that doesn't make your heart race, then let me paint you the full picture, because the story behind this victory is so much richer and deeper than a single scoreline. Alex Eala has been on a slow burn for years now, quietly building something special while the rest of the world was busy looking elsewhere, but today, on the sun-baked dirt of the Caja Magica, that slow burn exploded into a wildfire that the entire tennis world is now going to have to reckon with. Let's go all the way back to the beginning, because you cannot appreciate where Alex is right now without knowing the road she traveled to get here. She was never handed anything. Growing up in the Philippines, in a country where tennis courts are not on every street corner and where the pathway to professional tennis is more obstacle course than open road, she had to want it more than anyone else. And she did. She proved that early, winning junior titles that put her name on the global radar, including the US Open Juniors and the Roland Garros Junior Doubles. Achievements that were celebrated back home but largely overlooked by the international tennis establishment. They saw a junior prospect. We saw the beginning of something generational. Then came the decision that would define everything. Leaving her family, leaving the Philippines, leaving behind everything familiar and comfortable to move to Mallorca, Spain, and train at the Rafa Nadal Academy. Think about what that actually means for a moment. You are a teenager. You are thousands of miles from home. Every single day you wake up surrounded by elite players from across the world, all of them hungry, all of them driven, all of them trying to take the same spot you want. The pressure alone would have sent most people home within a month. But Alex stayed. She trained. She grinded through the ITF circuit, racking up wins and losses and lessons, slowly transforming her body and her game into something genuinely dangerous. By the time she cracked the top 50 and started appearing in the draws of major WTA events, the people who had been following her journey closely were not surprised. They had seen this coming. The rest of the tour, however, was just starting to pay attention. Heading into the Madrid Open, Alex sat at world number 44, which is already a milestone that deserves its own celebration. No Filipino woman had ever operated at this level of the sport consistently, and yet here she was, not just making up the numbers, but arriving as a legitimate seeded threat that nobody wanted to see in their section of the draw. Her 2026 season told the full story. 15 wins, 10 losses, a quarterfinal run in Dubai, and most strikingly, a victory over Coco Gauff on the hard courts of Indian Wells when Gauff was ranked number 4 in the world. Let that sink in. She beat the number 4 player on the planet this year. The clay transition was still the big question though. Hard courts and clay are two completely different sports wearing the same uniform. The movement demands change, the ball behaves differently, the rallies stretch longer, and the physical toll compounds with every passing round. Coming into Madrid on the back of a hard court season, there were genuine doubts, even among her most loyal supporters, about whether she could shift gears smoothly enough to compete against proven clay specialists. Her opponent in the first round made those doubts feel very justified. Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova is not just any clay court player. This is a woman who reached the final of Roland Garros in 2021, who has spent the better part of 2 decades understanding exactly how to break opponents down on the red dirt. She knows how to construct a point from the baseline, how to redirect pace, when to attack and when to reset. Her forehand is genuinely frightening, flat and heavy and fast, the kind of shot that pins opponents behind the baseline and removes any chance of dictating the rally. On paper, especially on the clay of Madrid where the altitude makes the ball fly faster and the bounce punishes anyone who struggles to handle high balls, Pavlyuchenkova looked like a nightmare matchup for a player making her mark on the surface. The international commentators leaned into that narrative heavily before the match. They talked about Pavlyuchenkova's experience, her finals pedigree, her familiarity with this environment. Alex was framed as the student arriving for a difficult lesson from a seasoned professor. And honestly, you could understand why they saw it that way. But here is what they missed. They looked at the rankings and saw a gap. Alex looked at the court and saw a blueprint. What she produced tactically over the next hour and a half was one of the most intelligent clay court performances you will see from any player this season, regardless of age or ranking. The centerpiece of her plan was the left-handed topspin forehand, and in the high altitude of Madrid, this shot became an absolute weapon. Because the ball travels faster. Through the thin air at elevation, Alex's heavy looping forehand was kicking up off the clay surface well above shoulder height on Pavlyuchenkova's backhand side. When a ball bounces above your shoulder, your mechanics fall apart. You cannot drive through the shot with any real power. You end up slicing defensively or popping the ball up weakly, and the moment you do that against a player like Alex, you have already lost the point. Pavlyuchenkova, for all her experience, had no clean answer to this problem. The second layer of the plan was even more beautiful to watch. Alex simply refused to let the match be played on Pavlyuchenkova's terms. The Russian's game is built around short, decisive rallies where her power can end points quickly. Alex dragged her into a completely different match, a grinding, exhausting, lung-burning test of endurance where she retrieved ball after ball that looked like it was already a winner, forcing Pavlyuchenkova to hit one more shot, always one more shot, until the errors started piling up and the frustration became visible from across the court. And then, just when Pavlyuchenkova would finally settle into a rhythm at the back of the court, Alex would pull out the drop shot. The disguise was absolutely immaculate. She would wind up as if she was going to drive another heavy ball deep into the corner, and at the very last fraction of a second, she would slow her swing and float the ball just barely over the net with ridiculous delicacy. You could literally see the panic on Pavlyuchenkova's face every time it happened. Her feet would scramble, her balance would break, and by the time she reached the ball, if she reached it at all, Alex was already positioning herself for the put-away. The first set was not easy. Let me be completely honest with you about that, because this was not a stroll in the park. Pavlyuchenkova came out hitting the ball like she had everything to prove, because she did. Ranked 116 in the world this season, grinding through qualifying just to reach the main draw, she was exactly the kind of player who is most dangerous, someone with nothing to lose and a career legacy fueling every single swing. There were moments early in that opening set where Alex faced break points, moments where the crowd noise swelled and the pressure became very real. 2 years ago, maybe even 1 year ago, those moments might have cracked her. But the version of Alex Eala that showed up in Madrid today is built differently. She stared at those break points, stepped to the service line with her shoulders back and her jaw set, and delivered a wide serve that completely wrong-footed Pavlyuchenkova, then put the next ball away with a forehand winner that sounded like a thunderclap. That single sequence told you everything you needed to know about where her mentality is right now. She has crossed a threshold that separates good players from great ones. As the match wore on, the physical story became just as compelling as the tactical one. By the second set, you could see Pavlyuchenkova starting to wear down. The long rallies, the constant changes of direction, the relentless physical demands of chasing Alex's drop shots and then immediately defending against a heavy topspin ball to the other corner, it was cumulative and it was visible. She was leaning on her racket between points, breathing hard, spending extra time at the towel. Meanwhile, Alex looked like she had just arrived at the court. Light on her feet, sharp in her eyes, moving with a fluidity that honestly resembled the player who built this academy she trained at, that Mallorcan legend whose name is literally on the gate. The Filipino resilience was not a talking point today. It was a physical, measurable, undeniable reality displayed in front of an entire stadium and broadcast to a global audience. When the final point landed and Alex raised her arms to the Madrid sky, the crowd inside Caja Magica responded in a way that reminded you she has become something of an adopted daughter to Spanish tennis fans. They have watched her grow up at the academy, they have followed her junior career, and today they got to witness the full flowering of everything she has been building. The noise was extraordinary. But let's talk about what this actually means beyond the emotion of the moment, because the practical implications of this result are enormous. A victory of this magnitude at a WTA 1000 mandatory event carries significant ranking points, enough to push Alex well clear of the top 50 and put her in genuine contention for a position inside the top 30. And the difference between being ranked 44 and being ranked inside the top 30 is not incremental, it is transformational. Inside the top 30 means direct seeding at every Grand Slam. It means in Paris, in London, in New York, in Melbourne, she will not face the world's best players in the opening rounds. She will have a protected path through the draw. She will be the dangerous player that other seeded players fear landing next to. For a player with her skill set, that kind of structural protection could be the difference between quarterfinal exits and deep runs in the biggest tournaments on Earth. But I want you to hold all of that for a second and think about something bigger. Tennis is a sport with a deeply embedded geography of dominance. Europe has always produced the clay court legends. America has always had its hard court superstars. The idea of a Southeast Asian woman not just participating at the top level but genuinely threatening the established order has never been a mainstream narrative. Alex Eala is rewriting that story one match at a time. For every young girl in Manila who has ever picked up a racket and been told, directly or indirectly, that the upper reaches of this sport were simply not built for someone who looks like her or comes from where she comes from, today was proof of something fundamental. The ceiling is not where they told you it was. Roland Garros is now just weeks away. The French Open on the slower traditional red clay of Paris, where the conditions will actually favor Alex even more than the lightning-fast altitude courts of Madrid, where her topspin will have more time to do damage, where her running ability will stretch rallies even further, where her mental toughness will be tested across 5 sets of the most grueling conditions in tennis. If she arrives at Roland Garros carrying this form, this confidence, and this tactical sharpness, she will not be arriving as a dark horse curiosity. She will be arriving as a legitimate threat, and the seedings committee, the draw committee, and every player in the women's draw is going to have to acknowledge that. The job in Madrid is not finished. There are more rounds to play, more challenges coming, players who will study this match and try to find the gaps in her game. She will need her serve to hold up, her legs to stay fresh, and her focus to remain locked. But after what she showed today, after the way she dismantled a Grand Slam finalist with a performance that was equal parts power and chess, there is not a single player remaining in this draw who would welcome seeing her name appear across the net. The tennis world wanted a sign that Alexandra Eala was ready to compete at the very highest level. She did not give them a sign today. She gave them a statement, written in red clay, witnessed by thousands, and broadcast to millions. Philippines, this is our moment. Keep watching.